Hey fellow music fans, welcome back to Psychology of Rock. If you're new here, my name's Nina, and today we are finally going to be doing a lyrical and psychological analysis of the song Que Mas Quieres from the Warning's upcoming album called Keep Me Fed. Now I have to start by saying that I absolutely love this song. I think it's got a lot going on musically. It is a beautiful composition, and I also think it has some very clever lyrics. And I'm really excited because I have been told at least that there's an official video coming out soon and that it was actually written and directed by Pau. Now I have no way to confirm this, but if this is true, that would be absolutely amazing. I think she is brilliant and I can't wait to see what she came up with. But for now, at least, we do have the official audio, which is fantastic. And we also have a quote by the band who graciously gave us a little hint about the meaning and motivation behind the song. So we have a general direction for the analysis. So let's go ahead and look at the quote. Pau reveals it's about taunting and manipulating. We were thinking about the TikTok phrase gaslight, gatekeep, girl boss and turned it into a song. And after reading this quote and then hearing the song again, I definitely think that Pau was able to effectively bring this vision to life. I think the song dives deeply into the theme of a toxic relationship, and it's perfect for a psychological analysis because the lyrics seem to explore a wide range of manipulative behaviors, from gaslighting to coercive control. Now, typically in these types of dysfunctional relationships, it creates a situation of emotional dependence where the other person starts to rely on the manipulator for survival, making it very difficult for them to break free. And we absolutely see this in the tone of the song. But what makes it even more sinister, however, is that in this situation, the protagonist is clearly inflicting hurt on the other person, but also positioning themselves as the solution, which kind of perpetuates this dynamic. So I think it's safe to say that Que Mas Quieres paints an almost disturbing picture of manipulation and control. So let's go ahead and go through the song. But as always, I have to give the disclaimer that this is just my own personal analysis. I am in no way trying to speak for the band, and there can, of course, be other interpretations. In fact, I would love to hear yours, so please leave a comment down below. I think you guys have some amazing insights, and I always look forward to hearing everything that you have to say. Also, I have to quickly mention that this analysis is being conducted on a translation of the song, which is actually written in Spanish. And this can potentially mean that some words or phrases may lose their precise meaning or may lose some of their intended impact due to the language difference. If you speak another language, you know that sometimes that perfect word that you are searching for that would mean the exact same thing just does not exist in the other language. But that being said, I looked at all the translations that I could find and I compared them. And I also had a few Warning fans on Twitter help me out. So I think we are as close as we can get. There were a few tiny discrepancies that I didn't think altered the lyrics in any kind of meaningful way or would have changed any part of this analysis. But please feel free to let me know in the comments if you think there are any lines that need to be clarified or retranslated. And finally, to avoid any confusion, I just want to specify that when I use the word she in this analysis, that I am not talking about any member of the band. I am simply talking about the protagonist in this song. So I want to be very, very clear about that. And with all of that being said, let's go ahead and dive into Que Mas Quieres. The song starts out with the lines, "The hunger that is consuming your insides, that effortlessly I can satisfy." So here it's just kind of establishing the dynamic that's going on. The protagonist describes the other person's hunger, which I think represents their emotional needs, as a void that they can easily fill, which immediately suggests dependence and a potential power imbalance. She goes on to say, "The thirst that it gives you only makes me remember how little it takes for me to drown you." Here the metaphor kind of shifts a little bit. I think the word thirst suggests a deeper need, but the following line hints at a past manipulation. The protagonist says that she remembers her power to drown the other person, which alludes to a potential history of being able to control them, which kind of establishes a cycle of abuse because the protagonist is aware of their manipulative tactics and their ability to harm the other person. We then get to the pre-chorus where she says, "Without fail, whatever you may need, here it will be, here it is." These lines reinforce the idea that the protagonist is setting herself up to be their sole source of fulfillment. These types of statements can create an illusion of stability for the other person and end up reinforcing their dependence. Then finally we get to the first chorus, which begins with the lines, "Tell me, what more do you want? Don't deny it anymore." This is a classic gaslighting tactic. Now, if you aren't familiar with this term, gaslighting is a form of emotional abuse where someone manipulates the other person into questioning their own sanity or reality. The protagonist here is trying to make the other person believe that all their needs are fulfilled and there is nothing else that they could possibly want, and basically telling them that they want to be in this relationship and that they should just give in to what they are claiming are their true desires. She goes on to say, "I secretly collect, I take everything with me," letting us in on her intentional manipulative control. Sometimes in these types of relationships, the manipulator will actually keep a record of all the things they've done for the other person so that they can later throw it in their face and create a sense of obligation. The word collect here makes me think that this might be what she's alluding to. The next lines are, "You won't hide from me. I know that you'll always come back. Even if sometimes you want to escape, I know that you'll stay here." This shows her sense of possessiveness and her confidence in the belief that the other person can't get out of the relationship even if they want to, because she knows that they feel trapped and powerless to change the situation. Now the next lines, "I intend to heal the same wound that I opened," are incredibly clever because they perfectly capture the twisted logic of a manipulator that claims to be the solution while actually being the source of the problem. I think this line also kind of explores the concept of trauma bonding, where they alternate between harming their victim and then offering moments of affection and support. In the song, the protagonist creates these traumatic experiences for the other person, but then makes herself appear like their savior and becomes their only source of comfort, which would make it even harder for them to leave the relationship because the victim is now emotionally dependent on this manipulator. This is something that the protagonist seems to be well aware of, because she then says, "I hurt you and you still come back to me." These lines highlight this emotional dependence and reinforce the concept of learned helplessness, where the other person has just kind of basically given up on being able to get out of all of this. She even goes on to say, "When manipulating the power that you give me, I decide what the ending is like." So here she's actually admitting her manipulative behavior and kind of delighting in the fact that she knows she holds all of the cards and that she's the one that gets to decide the outcome. It's like the other person has had a complete loss of self, which is very common in these types of relationships, because the constant manipulation ends up weakening their sense of self-worth to the point where they don't even feel like they have the ability to make their own decisions. I think this whole phrase really captures this dynamic very well. So then we have some repeats in the song, followed by the lines, "You know how it's going to end, but here you are going to stay." This makes me think that the victim may actually have some awareness of the situation and how bad and potentially even dangerous it is, but just feels like they cannot leave. I think it also shows that they both have a distorted perception of the relationship, and that the manipulator sees the other as only an object they possess instead of an equal partner with agency. The song finishes by once again asking the question, "Tell me, what more do you want?" I think it's the perfect way to end a song about manipulation, because the question itself really showcases the protagonist's position of power, and it emphasizes the unlikelihood that the situation is ever going to change. The fact that the song does not offer a resolution makes it even more powerful, because it really shows the relentless cycle of this type of manipulative relationship. Now, I'm assuming that the bulk of these lyrics were written by Pau, although I'm not 100% certain, so please let me know in the comments. But I have to say that I'm very impressed by them. I think it shows a deep understanding of the various facets of emotional manipulation and the psychological tactics that many people use. I think it's a very realistic portrayal of this type of dangerous relationship. I also think that the phrasing and the word choices that they used are really clever, and I can only imagine how much more impactful the song is in Spanish without having to read a translation of the lyrics. I thought it was really interesting, however, that they shared that the song was originally written in English because I think it works so well in Spanish. I think that was a really good decision to make that switch. So I look forward to hearing if you agreed with today's analysis or if there's anything you'd like to add. So please take a moment and leave your thoughts down below. I absolutely love reading through them. Next up, we have the release of Automatic Sun. I am so excited. It sounds amazing. I will, of course, be doing an analysis on that as soon as possible. I want to thank you guys so much for watching today. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you have not done so already. And I will see you next week.